Provide more context in the document for you about what has been done and what will be done to meet those 5 areas. The delay really was caused by the fact that library system staff have to be integral in the first elements of this project. It was extremely important that for me and for my computer services staff to be the people leading the first steps of this, the system design, the acquisition of funding, and the vendor selection, along with the libraries, that part. But then when we get into conversion, training, and evaluation, that's going to fall more upon our member libraries. So we needed to play a large role in that, but we also needed to move our building. And that became a larger project than I ever expected. We couldn't find anything that was in absolute moving condition. So, and as you know, we had some problems with the lease, so negotiating the lease, overseeing the renovation, managing the office move. We had to reconfigure our wide area network, and then we had many issues with workflow changes and staffing issues associated with getting to the new location. So, we're asking for a 6-month extension to complete this project with a target of being done as we can be. It's an ongoing project after this, but in July 2020. So some of the highlights of things that we have completed under system design. We have worked with our libraries to talk about the movement of materials within their libraries and how they are currently doing their shelf reading, their inventory, how things move in and out of their libraries to determine how RFID can improve their workflows. We analyzed reports, finding that the reporting from our current system we have a lot of inaccuracies. We use Python and SQL queries to pull out that data, and the inventory module will help out significantly with that. We had some RFID demonstrations where our staff got educated about RFID so that they could write, so that the thorough proposal could be authored. And finally, we put forth that RFP, and I don't know if any of you clicked on the link, but so it was a 28-page proposal that fully outlined all the things that we were looking for. In terms of acquisition of the funding, we do have some money set aside in something that we refer to as the Curtis Estate Grant. We would like to use for a library system-wide project, but we've also been looking into grants for that, and also into what additional costs there may be for the libraries after we've spent the money that we have on system-wide efforts. Are there additional components, such as additional security gates is one example, that libraries might want to purchase. Vendor selection, that's the phase that we're in right now, and that should be completed no later than December 16th. We're currently looking at things like sales agreements and just some additional, we've had demonstrations on site, but now we're asking them to send us things like some videos to catch up with some pieces, some questions that are still outstanding. In terms of conversion, that's putting the tags into the books and matching them up in our computerized system. So we've done some research on that, working with our materials vendors to see how much of that can be done in a pre-processing mode and what the cost estimates would be for that, so that they're already built into our 2020 budget. And also with the libraries in terms of where they might place different pieces of equipment and physical changes they might need to make their buildings. Final decisions on that won't happen until a project manager for the chosen company come on site and help them to determine those things. And finally, the training and evaluation phase, obviously we can't do that until we have the equipment in place. But part of that will be the library directors reorganizing their staff, because many people will come out from behind desks and be redeployed in other staffing assignments. Some libraries have been talking about reducing staff size through attrition, if that's possible. We'll know that when the things are in place. And just the continuous evaluation of the the product that we have, documenting how it's used for ongoing sustainability. The quotes that we have been for 5 years estimate on this project, so that we would continuously work with the companies to improve it over that time.
All right, I have questions.
Okay.
We'll start. Okay. For this to be helpful to us, because it's been a long time since we looked at this,
Yeah.
how much did we put into this last year? The county?
Into this project?
Us. Because what I need to see is the entire project and what all the steps are and what we were paying for and how much we've paid for already. And I will tell you, looking at this document, this looks like an exercise in how to spend $100,000, quite frankly. Because vendor selection, why would it take $20,000 for vendor selection? We do vendor selection all the time. Some of these steps may perhaps be labor intensive, so I would expect to know, what's involved with that, how many hours, how many people. This is not a proposal. I mean,
It is not a proposal. These grant elements
not
were
a
not intended to cover the cost of each step. They were conditional grant rewards for the completion of each step.
When conditional grants were laid out, it was to be for various things that we would decide to spend, not for pieces of an iterative project, because then it's all interdependent and that kind of defeats the purpose of the conditional grant.
Well, this is the conditional grant as written and approved last spring. It was with these 5 elements, each worth $20,000.
So I go back to my original question. What I want to see, since it's been a year, is I want to see the entire project, and I want to see what's been done, what's not been done, and why the whole thing. What did we spend before?
So we haven't spent any.
So none of last year's money went for this?
None of last year's money went for this, no.
So this is a $100,000 project, and it is all broken down here.
Yes, it's actually, we're talking about probably more like a $300,000 project. It's a much more expensive project than the conditional grant.
Okay.
It is, again, the grant being a reward for completion of the project and to replenish our technology fund when we've spent this money.
Well, I don't think we were characterized as a reward. This is supplemental funding that's
Sure.
supposed to be based on milestones that are achieved.
Right.
So,
Right. But just in the last 2 years as well, the conditional grant projects that we had
right.
didn't necessarily cost the amount that was awarded for each element in those.
Right. They're intended to be supplemental funding.
Right.
Conditional grants are supplemental funding. All right. So this is the entire project. And the dollars that have been spent on the things in the first paragraph, everything before number 1, those are dollars that the system has sunk of its own budget, which all comes out of library tax income. But that's all been paid for out of the library tax money.
Sure, the primary cost has been staff time. It's been staff time in investigating and reading and arranging for all these things to happen. So we have not signed a contract with the company yet, so we've not paid any bill to an outside company. It's been either member library staff time or system staff time.
Dana, you confirmed earlier today that we did approve this in December 2018, correct?
Yes, I don't think it was this specific document because this has more.
No, this is an update. This is not the actual.
No, I know,
But-
these were the
Yes.
items for the conditional grant.
I believe, if memory serves me correct, it was presented on December 12th, approved December 19th.
2018.
I think it was, yes.
So it's really one project, you just, I guess, split it up for informational purposes. It's
Yes.
$9,000
And that was done with the,
grant.
and that's 2 chief clerks ago. That was the recommendation, was to bring it to you in the form of steps to the conditional grant.
So you had done an RFP, you've identified 4 potential vendors, is that
Mhm.
correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Where right now, Carolyn, if you can answer this, I don't know if you can or not, how far along is this project? Or is it not going anywhere until you actually hire
Till we actually hire someone, it's, nothing's a done deal. But we've spent significant time out, again, I brought a copy of the proposal, I also provided you with a link to it, but it's, just to show you that there are pages and pages of elements that they had to answer yes or no to, whether they could meet our functional requirements.
Okay, is that the document that, what I'm looking for is essentially an
Yeah.
explanation of the project that has,
Yes, so there's a link to
I
that.
want to know the true cost of the project.
Yeah, there's a link to that in here,
Okay.
and privately, I'd be happy to provide you with, the quotes that we've received. Like I said, in a public meeting, I'm not comfortable talking about
Right.
confidential RFP
Right, tell
information
us what
specifically.
word.
But they,
Well, here's what
They outline-
typically, you could say, vendor A, vendor B, vendor C, and tell us if we're in the neighborhood. Is it,
Right.
is it tracking with what you expected it to be?
and it is. I mean, there was one RFP that we rejected outright because of the cost. It was far over and above
Yeah.
everybody else's cost. But all of them outlined for us the cost of each element, each piece of
Okay.
equipment, the cost of conversion for the tagging, the cost of the software and the installation, and then the ongoing maintenance costs for up to 5 years were listed. Some of the vendors provided us information about supplemental costs if we wanted additional pieces of equipment or anything like that, so. So all of them were well outlined, and like I said, the one was just, it was completely rejected because of cost. Another is going to be rejected because it's not really part of our functional requirements were that it be compatible with our current systems, and we don't believe it to be compatible, but we were asking for the provision of hardware, software, training and support services, and so they outlined all those things for us.
Okay, typically, a milestone-driven project we would want to know how it's tracking, not only what did this phase actually cost, but was it accomplished on budget, under budget, over budget? So essentially, we're tracking the progress of it as well, to know whether it's warrants the award, reward the award of the milestone payment.
Right.
Are we gonna see anything like project tracking or to know that it's going okay?
Yeah, when we get into the actual implementation phase, we'll be using.
What I'm
project-
getting at is, I don't wanna get to step
No, we'll be
4
using
and then say,
project
oh, by the way, it's
management
way over
software.
budget, and this isn't gonna be enough, in which case we'll be saying, well, why did we continue to award milestone payments?
Now, that was one of the elements in the RFP and in talking to vendors is,
Okay.
what kind of project management software do they use, how are they tracking that? So that we know what we need to accomplish as a system, what the member libraries each need to accomplish, and what the company will be doing for us.
Carolyn, did you say that we want to, excuse me, award the contract in mid-December?
Yeah, no later than December. Yeah, December 16th to be specific. So we say December 16th.
Do you have anything?
Yeah, Carolyn, I was just taking a look back at the MOU and trying to figure out the timing of all this. The way it appears to me, and I haven't looked at it for a while, is the library system, in addition to the tax increase that we granted,
Right.
was given the opportunity to earn, conditional grant award, and it was complete the project, if I understand it correctly, complete the project and then receive funding
That's correct.
the following year. Okay. So this, I believe, 2019, under the agreement, was the last year for projects to have been completed. And then based on whether or not you've met the performance goals and the objectives, you know, you would then receive payment in 2020, in the first quarter of 2020.
That's correct.
So what I'm trying to understand now is you haven't completed the last year yet,
Correct.
and you're looking for an extension, but I'm not quite certain as to when we provide the payment, or, you know, whether we need to amend the agreement in some way, shape, or form, if this is what we, you know, want to do. But I mean, under the MOU, the way it exists right now, is the project that was approved for 2019 was not completed in 2019.
That's correct.
You're just getting started with it, sounds like.
Yeah, and I will, in defense of the project, we had something that took higher priority that was also a county priority. Was to have us move out of River Highway and go
Yes.
somewhere else. And that was a huge and unexpected, it was a huge and unexpected project, it was unexpected expenses, but mostly it was the time that had to be invested in doing that for the overall good of other departments in the county, rather than focusing on ourselves and our own project. And there was really, the initial phases of this, unfortunately, were not something that we could just manage by handing off to someone else. They needed to be done at our staffing level, and our staff had to put other priorities above this project. We started in earnest at the end of July, and so it's definitely put us, we said, about 6 months behind. One of the companies that we're working with, I believe they're overly optimistic. They think we can have, as soon as we sign the contract, within 2 months, all of your books can be tagged, and we can start implementing the equipment, and it could be done in 3 to 4 months. I'm requesting 6, thinking.
So that was my next question. Are you comfortable with the 6 month extension?
I'm comfortable with a 6-month extension. When the vendor said, 3 months, that was nice to hear from her, but not being the director of all of the libraries, relying on, 7 independent entities to do their part. I'm not their supervisor. I can only help them give them the project milestones and hope that they meet them.
So are we gonna see, I guess this is one of the things I was trying to get at, are we gonna see a timeline? So this is
Yes.
now been deferred essentially from 19 into 20.
Yes.
All right,
As
but
soon
we've
as-
not paid anything.
We have not paid any company anything. All the costs have been internal costs.
All right, staff time.
Okay, all right.
We
So-
haven't, because the conditional grant from the county comes the year after, or the first quarter after the project's completed, so we haven't paid this money out either.
You have not.
So, I mean, we haven't paid for anything.
No.
The point is though, I think, the way that it's set up is we want to see the goals, whatever we agree to, that they have been met before we, provide the payment.
Well, like I said, I think I'm confident that the system design, the bullet points are the things we've done toward accomplishing those. I'm confident that the system design phase has been fully completed with the acquisition of funding. We continue to look for grants for this, but other than that, we haven't looked for them. And then the last bullet point on the flip side, is any costs not covered by the library system. Once we know the true cost of this, libraries are going to need to look at their own budgets and determine if there's more that they want. For example, if you've seen RFID working in libraries, the companies will sell you these beautiful self-checkout machines. They're gorgeous. They cost $8,000 to $10,000 a piece, where we already have self-checkout machines that can be converted for about $3,000. So we're not going to buy them $8,000 to $10,000 machines. If they want to invest in that, they're welcome to. So that's the sort of thing we're talking about with that bullet point. In terms of vendor selection, that will be done by December 16th, that entire step. So all those bullet points will be accounted for. It's really the conversion and training and education bullets where I would say some things are done, some things we haven't even started, and some are midway.
Let me get clarity on this.
Mhm.
The acquisition of funding, how will you know when you have succeeded in finding, what that means, as I'm reading it, is you will have secured all the financing for the entire project.
Correct.
So you're going to, based on the proposals,
Mhm.
that's what will determine what the true cap is for the project.
Right.
And then you'll do what? Are you then just parsing it out as to how much it's actually gonna be from your budget? Or are you actually out actively looking for additional revenues, and how long does that take? And when do you consider yourself done?
At this point, we possibly have exhausted all thoughts for additional revenues for the initial project.
Yeah.
There may, but again, as the example, those fancy self-checkout machines that look so beautiful and work so nicely as an all-in-one, perhaps we'd be able to pursue something like the Library Services and Technology Act to purchase those in the future. And by in the future, I mean in 2020. So in terms of the initial cost, I think we've exhausted all those resources. And the board has, the finance committee of the library system has found money that they believe they can move into the technology fund to pay for this project.
Okay, so in other words, anything that you can't find another payment for, you're gonna pay for it out of your
Right,
budget.
right.
Okay. So it will be covered. You're not gonna come back to us and say we have a shortfall, we can't raise this.
That will not happen. There, yeah. all
You already
of-
have it, now it's a matter of how much you can
right,
offset
all
without.
the vendors
external
that we're
sources.
looking at are fall within money that we can allocate to this project.
Okay.
All right, so essentially reading over this, what you're asking for is to complete the project and, report back to the Board of Commissioners by July of next year.
Yes.
And
Perhaps earlier.
then after that, you would be eligible to receive the $100,000 from the county. Is that what we're talking about?
That's my hope.
So in other words, you haven't met the 2019 goals yet. You're going to finish that up in the next 6 months.
Correct.
And then after that, prove to the commissioners you met them. I won't be one of them, but prove that you met the goals. And then you would be eligible for the funding. Now, I don't know whether that requires an amendment to our MOU, or whether we could just do that, as an exception to, one-time exception or to this, but I'd be looking for whatever technical advice. I did want to ask while you're here, because as you recall, one of the big things that I was interested in back in, when did we do this, 2017, is that when we did it, 2016?
2016, December
Right.
2016.
Was as part of the, us agreeing to the increase in the library tax, was the creation of the intergenerational programs.
Mhm.
And, I was just reviewing that language again there. I was wondering if you could provide an update as to where we are on all that, because that was an important project
Yeah.
as part of this.
Respectfully, at this moment, I'm not prepared to talk about that.
Okay.
I don't have that information, and I haven't met with the
Okay, well,
children's staff.
the agreement,
Yeah.
just to reflect back on what was agreed to, the library system agrees to dedicate sufficient staff and resources
Mhm.
for the development, coordination, and implementation of intergenerational programs, library system-wide and in each of the county's libraries, having the purpose of serving the needs of our county's oldest and youngest generations. And it then advised that in developing such programs, the library system agrees to work in cooperation with the county's Office of Aging and Community Services, seek input from the Aging Advisory Boards, as well as other public and private organizations, including school districts in the county, to develop, promote, coordinate, implement a variety of intergenerational programs. And then there were a number of suggestions of programs that could be developed. Older adults reading to and or helping young children in learning to read. Storytelling to children by qualified older adults to share their wisdom, knowledge, and insight, particularly with respect to our local, state, and national history and heritage. Retired teacher volunteers or other eligible older adults helping school-age students, especially those at risk, complete their homework. Younger citizens assisting and educating their older adults in the use of new technologies. And trained eligible older adults supporting youth services, library staff with programs and activities for young children.
And I would say that many, if not all of those things are being done. I just don't have specific examples at this time, other than, I mean, just one that popped out at me when you said that. Just in this past quarter, we've had someone go speak to the retired teachers.
Okay.
I don't know specifically if it's of Cumberland County or a specific geographic area within Cumberland County, but that was something that has been done. I know that there's something going on with the senior center. I believe it's here in Carlisle. And
Okay.
there's many of these things going on. I just don't have the data with me.
Well,
and
it
I
needs,
hate to
I
speak
guess
to
what
it
I'm,
off
I
the
guess what
cuff.
I'm looking for is, these are words on a piece of paper.
Mhm.
What I'm interested in is the ongoing effort of the library system again, because the whole idea here was, you know, our libraries to be the lifelong learning centers that they should be, and then also to bring the generations together,
Right.
because they both have something to offer
Yeah.
one another.
Yeah.
So I hope that there could be a renewed focus on that part of the agreement. I
Yeah.
understand the library system's doing pretty well financially these days, that you have a substantial reserve. So, you know, if you need to hire some more people to help make this happen, I hope you consider doing that.
Well, I know that it is an ongoing topic with the children's librarians when they get together. I know that it is a significant focus for our person who works with the homebound outreach. One of the things that was just formed was a partnership with CCAP, not CCAP, sorry, there we go. To work with the two of the senior centers in the Camp Hill and East Penfro area. So there are always ongoing efforts. I just don't have the data along
That's-
with me
no, that's
today
fine.
to
That's
provide
fine.
you, but
I just think
it
it's good
certainly
that,
has not been forgotten. It's something that we refer to frequently.
well, I think we can avoid a lot of the social costs in society if we would, you know,
Yeah.
develop these kind of programs.
Mhm.
There's a lot of single parent and no parent households out there.
Mhm.
And, you know, this is an opportunity for kids to be pointed in the right direction and learn from, you know, retirees who still have something to give.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it's the part of, JFK said back in 1963, 9 months before he was assassinated, that, you know, it's great that a great nation has added new years to life, but now we need to add life to those years. We have a lot of older citizens, lonely, who could be, they still have much more to give. So, again, I just think it's something I hope that we will continue to work on and develop, you know, in the years ahead.
Yeah.
As far as the extra time, you know, to complete 2019, I don't have a personal problem. And, but I would, you know, say that you gotta come back to the board and say we've got it all done, and the board has to be happy with it before the funds get released. So whatever we need to do to, if we need to amend this,
I'll have to talk to Keith.
or just provide for, you know, some kind of a motion to provide for an exception to it, maybe that would be sufficient, I don't know.
Well-
Dana, I saw your hand.
Yeah, I wanted to get the name.
So
Do you
I
have
wanna-
any questions on this request, Dana, the extension? Anything you want to add?
I would say it appears that she met number 1 and 3, so we probably should accrue it and then choose to whether pay it or hold it until we make all the payment, but based on the way the MOU was written, they did earn the grant. So I would recommend accruing the $40,000. And then for number 2, 4, and 5, we should probably have some kind of addendum to the contract. So that it's in writing, that it's extended for 6 months. And for number 2, in my opinion, Carolyn, you should probably document the measures that you took to go after funding, since none was obtained for the earning of that money.
Mhm.
And then I would also recommend reaching out to some of the VFWs and other things. They do offer money to these types of projects sometimes.
Sandy, you will follow up to see if this needs to be amended.
Yeah.
Not certain it does, but
I think, like Dana says, I think we need to have something in writing so that we know exactly what we did, we extended it, and how long, so. But I will follow up with Keith.
all right, at this point, I don't think the board needs to take any action until we get some clarification.
And I'd be happy to come back, after we've got a signed contract and we have a project management method in place. I'd be happy to come back and provide, here are the specific milestones, timelines for the project, when we know them much more specifically
That's fine.
for that implementation phase.
The timeline of the tracking is what I'm
Yeah.
interested in, so to know.
I'd be happy to come back and present on that when we have something more concrete, so that you're very aware of what we're up to.
See, if I have any other questions or comments?
I just wanted to ask Dana a
Yeah.
question. Did we previously approve partial payments,
Yes.
because in previous years, because they completed part of whatever?
Yes, that is, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, all right. I didn't know we did that before. But that's not the way the MOU reads. It reads that, they receive their reimbursement in the quarter of the year after they met the goals, all of them, but.
And last year, I believe they did not meet one of them, so the majority was released.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the first year.
The first year.
2017.
Well, I don't know how Mr. Gary feels, but I'm fine if you've met certain elements of it, that you receive what Dana suggested, but, at the end of the day, the idea is that, we want to see you complete and be successful in the total project in terms of what was agreed to.
That's how a lot of projects are done that way, that you're paid for the milestone after the milestone's been certified as having reached, so, construction.
And I'm very comfortable with that. Understand?
How do you like your new headquarters? Everything working out in your new?
It is. It's,
It's
significantly smaller space, and that, the workflows were reconfigured to be so much better. Before, we were so spread out, and people who worked together weren't necessarily in the same spaces. So the workflows greatly improved in there. And the addition of that conference room space has been a godsend for, we have a variety of types of meeting rooms available to us for free as part of our lease. We have nice storage space. Again, they put that in for free as part of our lease. So things are working out very nicely there.
Good,
Thank
glad.
you for asking.
Best wishes.
Anything else, Carolyn?
Nothing else for me.
Okay. All right, do we have any other business that needs to be discussed? Is there a motion to adjourn? Adjourn, thank you.